Hi guys, it's Mary. I hope that you're doing well. I'm sorry that it has been so long since we've chatted in this way, but it's been crazy with all of the stuff going on and my husband being home and having family in town. We've kind of just been all over the place, and so I wanted to just jump on here and let you guys know some information about homeschooling because a lot of my friends have been reaching out to me that would not normally be considering homeschooling, but because of the uncertainties and they're not sure what their county's going to be doing or what their state's going to be doing, and so with in regards to school, and so they are considering homeschooling. And I don't know if that's you or if you know people that are as well, but I just wanted to give you some more resources and help you to see how simple that it can be, because it really can be so simple and such a blessing to your family and to you, as long as we don't make it overcomplicated, which is really easy to do. And when you start looking online for all of the options of homeschooling, it becomes overwhelming super quick because there's so much information and there's so many different options. And so I'm just going to give you some really simple, like cheap, inexpensive ways to homeschool if you're just trying it out and you may not continue to do this. Like it might just be for this season and then you're going to continue to send them to a different school. You don't want to invest in all of these materials if you're only doing it for this year. So I thought this would be a good way to just kind of get your appetite wet, maybe give you some ideas if that is something you're considering. So I'm going to just share with you some of my favorite things and some things that I've learned along the ways. I've been homeschooling for I guess 5 years now. My oldest is going into 4th grade this year. So these are just some things that would make your day go really simple. If you have young children in your home, that's probably the number one question is how in the world can you homeschool when you have little kids in your house running around? Because that's what I have. I have 4 kids and 2 of them are under the age of 4. 4 and 2 to be exact. And so they really do just run amok while I'm trying to do school, but that's kind of the beauty of it, is that it is like a little schoolhouse in some ways. And so it's some great things to help them to be entertained while you do short lessons. That is key in homeschooling, is just doing short lessons, like under 20 minutes, preferably like 15, and then as they get older it can be 20 to 30, but no more than 30-minute times that you're sitting down with them if possible, just because of their attention span. I don't know any kid that just wants to sit there for 45 minutes to an hour, other than my second daughter, who I have to like pry her away from school and from books because she will just keep going and going and going. So you might have a kid like that, but for the most part 15 minutes is about all any kid really wants to sit and do, like very focused like workbooks or handwriting or anything like that. So to give you some free time to do those activities with your kids, the little ones, this is something I didn't share in my previous video about homeschooling, which I have a couple other ones out if you want to go back and look at those. I'm going to try not to say the same things I've already said, so if you want to know the specific curriculum that we use, or just other ways that you can manage your like time and your scheduling, I talked about those things in other videos. So today I'm just sharing with you other resources that can be helpful and make it really simple, like super easy. This is a really fun activity where it's just shoelaces and little things that they can practice going in and out of, and this will keep them occupied for a good 15 minutes if you have little hands and that will sit and do that. So my youngest 2 will sit and do this while I'm doing a lesson with one of the older 2. So that's a good activity box. Just letting them play with these would be a good thing to have for your older kids, but also for your little kids, and they just play and connect them. And you can find these on Amazon. They're pretty inexpensive and you can get them in different numbers, but they connect like this. So those are fun to keep little ones entertained, and you'll use them for your big kids. And same with these, which are the little shapes that you can build things with. Those are fun for the little ones, and you'll use them with your older ones. These are a great thing to have around for math and for building and for playing with the little ones. So just bringing out one of these, I wouldn't set them all out at once. I would just give them one while I'm doing something with the older kids, and then the next day I would give them a different box so that it doesn't get boring and it's exciting new activity that they get to play with. So I keep those up high on my shelf so that they can't just pull them out whenever they want. It's kind of like a new novel thing that they get to play with. And they love these ones. These ones get taken all over my house and I can hardly ever find them, but they're little bears that they love to play with. I don't know if you can see them, little bears. I'll hold it like this. There you go. And So those are fun for sorting and for counting and for just making up games, because that's what my kids do. And then this is another fun thing where they can measure stuff, and they can put the little bears in there and try to measure them. And so any of these things would be good to help entertain little ones while you're working with older ones, and only giving it to them during that set time. So during that like 15-minute block that I'm going to do reading, then I would set them up in the other room, preferably where I can still see them but not in earshot, and then come to a different room with the older ones to do theirs. This is also fun for all of the kids and just a good math thing to have, the abacus. And this is a good, like, these are cheap, inexpensive things that you might already have, but they're just good to have on hand for doing math. And that way you don't have to buy like a whole math curriculum with all the manipulatives. You could just buy these individual things that everybody would want to play with, and you can use them for multiple things. So those are some of the things for the little ones. And having, like, I talked about using Play-Doh and things like that before, but Play-Doh is a terrible thing to do with it when you're not watching them if they're 4 and younger, because they will eat it, they will throw it everywhere. But if you don't care and you just want them to be entertained, then have at it. Like, they can play with whatever you want. I usually prefer things that aren't gonna like wreck my house if I can. So like these things will make a lot of noise and they'll go everywhere, but you can pick them up. And so those are things that we like to do. And then just puzzles. Puzzles are a good thing to pull out, or a computer game. You can set up them on a computer while you're working with the other kids in the other room. And even a TV show. So there's some really good ones that are Leapfrog, that are like counting and the alphabet sounds, and those are really good ones for your littlest learners, just to get used to hearing what sounds every letter makes. And it's like a 30-minute like show that's educational, so you don't feel like it's just mind-numbing, like keep them distracted. It actually is educational, so you'll feel good about them watching it. So those are like, between all of those things, if I just hopped around, I can get through all of my morning work by just giving them things like that. But a lot of times my 2 youngest just play, so as long as they're playing, I'm not going to stop them from playing to give them something else. So if they're already playing dolls or whatever they play, then I just let them do that, and then I go and start doing work with the other ones. But if they're like clinging to you, which a lot of them will do once you aren't giving them attention, then setting them up with something is definitely helpful. And another way to make a morning time go really well is if you have other friends that you know right now that are also considering homeschooling, if you guys set up to watch each other's kids so that you could do school together. I have had a friend come over where she'll watch the little ones in one room, and I'll take the older kids and do all of their work with them, and we'll get done so quickly because I'm not running back and forth trying to watch the little ones. She's entertaining them and I'm teaching the other ones, and then we'll switch, and then I'll watch the little ones and she can do a different lesson with the big ones. And that works so well, and it really runs super smooth, and the kids love getting to see their friends. So I think a lot of people are nervous that they won't, when they go back to school, if they have to be socially distanced and wear the masks and do all these things, that it won't be the same and it won't feel like normal to them. So if you are wanting to homeschool for those reasons, just to have like social interaction with your kids, and with just a few families that you feel safe, not bringing them to really big environments, but just a family that you feel comfortable having them be around, that's such a great option to do. Like, I love just having families come over, and even they can take your kids. Like, you take my little ones and I'll take your big ones, and then we'll do school, and then we'll switch and drop them off, or whatever you want to do. There's so many options to help make it smooth and allow for social interaction and allow for just friendships to thrive and grow, and just to have community, because I am a huge person that needs community. If you know me personally, that's just who I am. I'm always wanting to be around people, and so I would definitely be leaning in that camp if I were in the public school right now. So some other things that are really helpful to just make your day go smoothly is doing read-alouds. So while they're eating or while they're playing with puzzles, to just read to them is such a great way to enrich their education, and it isn't complicated. Like, you don't have to have all these papers and forms, and they don't need to do anything like formal. They literally can just listen, and they will learn so much just from doing that. So history is a great one to read to them, and I love this curriculum. It's called The Mystery of History. So it's a biblical worldview, which there are very few, if maybe none other ones. I don't know what other one has a biblical worldview. I know within CC they like history of the world, I think. But I prefer this one over that one because this one is actually a Christian worldview, where that one is just classical minded. And this one, it really does like make you think about all of the different people in history and where was their faith at, and how did God use them, and what might have, altered these decisions that they were making. And it just makes you think about it at a whole different level, rather than just seeing the people and the decisions they made. You really are like contemplating the motivations behind what they were doing, and how that affected the church, and how that affected Christianity and other religions. And so it's just a really, really great book. I love it, and I have learned so much from reading it. And even if it feels like it's over your kids' heads, they are still hearing the names of these people, these time periods, and they're gleaning what they need from it. And so they'll ask more questions so you can go deeper. But if they don't, you don't worry about them fully knowing all of the information, because with homeschooling, you just continue to read and to do the same things over and over again, at least the classical model. So my kids will hear these same stories for the next like 4 years. So at some point they'll really get to know what I'm talking about. But initially it's just kind of exposing them to it. And then this is a really good one if you have older kids that you wanted to homeschool and it couldn't just happen. Knowing the truth about God's awesome creation. So it is a biblical worldview of creation versus evolution, but it gives you tons of like actual proof of creation, which there are no science books that are doing that pretty much anywhere. So this is a really great book that even just right here, you can see where did we really come from? It's showing you the skulls of animals and the evidence that is used against the creation model. So it's just really good book. I think you would like that. Even if you don't have kids, you probably would want to read that. And then my favorite part of homeschooling, and the reason that I would choose to do that above anything else, is just because I want to be the greatest influencer in my kids' life. I used to teach first grade, and I recognized how much influence I had on those children's lives, and just getting to point them to God in the ways that I could in the time that I had them in my class. But I was kind of limited in what I could share with them and say to them, because it was a public school setting. So just being able to talk about God in every subject all day long with my kids is a huge reason why I wanted to homeschool. And this is a really great book. One of my friends shared with me, Leading Little Ones to God, and it kind of just gives them a really firm foundation of who God is, what he's about, what the Bible says about him, and it kind of gives you just a good foundation of understanding the faith. And even for adults, like if you're new to the faith, you might want to read this along with your kids, because it's just really foundational truths that need to be understood to understand our faith. And so I love this. Is just in the morning time we'll read this, or we can do it before we go to bed, but it gives you like a passage that you read, and then you can read from the scripture actual, like where they're getting the verse that they're talking about, like how sin came into the world, and then it gives you what things to talk about. So it'll give you some questions to check comprehension, and then what the Bible says. So it gives you Bible verse, and then it gives you suggested reading. So your older kids could actually read the Bible, what verses they're talking about. And then you have a hymn, an old hymn to go along with it, and then a prayer. And so it's just really sweet devotional if you're looking for a good devotional. And then also I love these books, the Little House on the Prairie books, which are so like cliche, I don't know, homeschooling kind of books, but they are the best. I have learned so much from them, and the girls love to hear it. So I usually read them these kind of books while they're eating, or during snack time, or while they're busy. Their hands are busy, because they listen so much better when they have something to be doing or eating, and they're just still. And so those are books I would definitely recommend. And if you are interested in doing something more formal, like you feel like you need to be held accountable in your homeschooling, like you need a group that you'll meet up with, which I feel that way. Like if I just was on my own rogue, I would not be as consistent as I would want to be. And so I choose to do classical conversations, which I absolutely love. And if you're interested in doing that, it's a classical model, but with a Christian worldview. And it is spiral, and they do 3 main core time periods of information, and then they repeat them again. But if this is your first time and you're just trying it out, I would love it just for the fact that you have consistency and a place to meet, and people and other moms and community, and they have a small group of kids in a class, about 7 in a class, and you do a presentation every week. So they get up and do public speaking, which is a huge fear of most people in the world, and so they break them of this fear at a very young age. They allow them to speak in front of people every single week, and it's more of like show and tell at the younger ages, and then they can share book story, like whatever they want as they get older. But it starts out just getting them comfortable talking in front of people. And then there's a science experiment every week and a arts of different types. So one would be like learning about all of the instruments and orchestra, and then you do a tin whistle segment, and then you're doing drawing and coloring. So all different types of arts are included as well. And I love that. So those things you would just, if you wanted to do classical conversations, you would just need to buy their CD, or you can get it on iTunes, but it's their songs that help you to memorize the memory work, which is a classical way of learning that you're just learning the grammar of all of the information that we would need to know before we can go any deeper or build on that information. You just need to have a foundation of words that you understand. So it seems completely different from our own education, because it is. It's not at all the way I was taught to teach or how I learned, but it's just filling in so many holes and gaps in my own education because I'm learning vocabulary of things that I should already know. And then once you have this vocabulary that you memorized and learned, then you can build on it and you can go deeper and you can start to connect things together that you already understand what the words mean. And so it's just the way your brain works. Actually, it's the way we're meant to learn. So it is a great model of teaching. And this season, or this cycle, is cycle 3. So we're doing American history, which is really interesting that we're going to be doing that this fall. And you would also just need to buy the Foundations Guide. So this has all the information that you need, and each week there are these subjects that you would cover. And so you have math, Latin, science, English, timeline, presentation, history, and these are all on your CD or on iTunes, and they come with songs to memorize it, or you can make up your own songs, and it's just gathering all of these kind of pegs on a board that you can later hang information off of, but just knowing your multiplication times tables, and just knowing who Columbus was, and just knowing places, states, and capitals in geography, so that you know where in context to where things are in the world. It's just really super helpful information that's really easy. And so this is it could just be your full curriculum, or it could be a supplement. It could be whatever you'd want it to be. We use it as our main curriculum, and then we just do math additional and history additional. And so those were the things that I shared with you already, the history books. And then for math, there are so many math curriculums that you could do. And I've done 4 already, so I already know about a majority of them. Not majority, there's so many more out there, but I know about like some of the main ones that people would use, and I have great things to say about all of them and things that I would prefer not to do with some of them. So it really just depends on you and what you want and what your kid is. If your kid is like a math genius and they need to be challenged and they need to have a higher level of math thrown at them, then Saxon is a really good option, because it's super rigorous and it's very consistent and lots of material that you'll be going through. And I like that one because it challenged me and my oldest, but when you have 4 kids, it can be challenging to do because it takes a really long time. So another great option is Abeka or Horizons, which are both Christian-based math programs, and they're more workbooks that you just go through each day that are colorful, and they kind of are circular, and that you'll continue to review and hit those topics throughout the year. So I like those because that one doesn't include a bunch of extra stuff. It's just the workbook, and it's pretty easy for the kid to do by themselves. And then there's also the Charlotte Mason books that I did this past year, which I really like because it kind of marries 2 different styles of learning together, and that it gives you a lot of like real life application of math, which hardly any books give you that, other than probably Life of Fred is a good one for that. It's like telling you a story and showing you how math is incorporated into the real world, and it explains everything in like unique ways to make it concrete in the kid's mind. So that is a really great option if you are looking for a literature-based math, and I have a lot of friends that love that one. And so the Charlotte Mason version is kind of like a mixture of like Abeka and the Life of Fred, because it has stories and it has like scripture and it has unique ways that this math is applied to your real life, but then it does have a good amount of like work problems that you do. So you would do like 2 pages worth of problems on top of some reading every couple of days. So I really enjoyed that one as well. But then there's even online math. You could just do an online program where it's fully online, and then all you're doing is reading Bible stories with them, history stories, and maybe meeting up with a co-op or meeting up with some of your friends. Like, it can be so simple, just depending on what you want, and not thinking too much into it, and not thinking that you have to have like a full I don't know, like, I feel like when you first jump into homeschooling, you think you have to do so much more than you do. Like, you just can keep it really simple, and they will learn so much and will grow and just amaze you at how much they can learn in such a short amount of time. They don't need 45 minutes to do every lesson, because when it's one-on-one, it goes so much quicker, and they get it so much quicker that they really only need 15 minutes because you've been working with them one-on-one for 15 minutes. Where me as a classroom teacher, I know that that rarely happened with my students in the classroom. I was hardly ever one-on-one with them. And so the amount of time that they would need would be like 45 minutes of instruction, because I'm only with them for like 5 minutes out of that time to help with the questions that they have. Where when you're one-on-one with that kid, they are learning things so much quicker. You could do 2 lessons in a day sometimes, just because of how much you can get through. So just keep those things in mind. If you are considering homeschooling, you can totally do it. You are fully equipped because you're their mother, because God entrusted you to be their mother. So He will equip you with what you need to teach them. And there are so many resources. There's so many moms out there who would love to come alongside you, especially these moms who have been homeschooling for years and years. Like, find one of those moms in your area, in your neighborhoods, at your churches. There's plenty of them out there that are a wealth of knowledge and encouragement, and they love it. They love bringing women alongside them. I have been brought under many a wing because I just was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Please help me. And so I know that there's women like that all over. And if you have any specific questions or things that you are interested in learning more about, please reach out to me. I'd be happy to help you as well. But I just want to encourage moms to jump into it if you are considering it, because you will love it and it will be a blessing to your family. And to just keep it simple, and don't buy like $1 million curriculums and all. I mean, they're not that much, but don't buy all of this stuff. Use what you have, meet up with other moms, just keep it fun and simple. And these days that we're living in are crazy, and there's so much uncertainty. And so whatever we can do to just keep life as normal as we can for our kids, and help them to just stay in community with other kids and with other families, and for us to have those relationships with the people that we care about the most. Just do that. Just prioritize your family and your mental health with your family, because I know that every day there's something new that wants to steal our joy and steal our peace. And so creating that home structure is huge in helping to keep some semblance of normal in your house. So I'm gonna let you go. Hopefully this was helpful, and reach out to me if you have any questions. All right, bye-bye.